Hey everyone, today we're going to be looking at the standoff weapon planning guide. You can find a link to the soft copy down in the comment section. I recommend you go download it so you can look at it as we go through it. This is designed for primarily mission planners to allow them to coordinate multiple strike packages, multiple different munition types to get very similar time on targets for their weapons. So some systems have a much longer range, some have a shorter range. They will have different times they need to be dropped. They will have different times of flight, and you can coordinate those through the mission editor to provide a simultaneous time on target for all the munitions, no matter what aircraft they're coming from or what type they are. These are the prime reference points from the guide. These are the range and timetables. These represent maximum range that the aircraft provides for engagement capability. So for example, the AGM-154 at 25,000 feet, Mach 0.8, you will receive launch authorization at 31 nautical miles. So as you can see, as we close to the circle, there is a timer at the top that counts down from the maximum engagement range of the system. So at that point, you'll be able to drop the bomb onto the target. So when you're looking at these maximum range figures, this is where they come from. It's when the system tells me that you will be able to engage the target, and the time is a time that I measured from the drop point to impact. And there will be some variance in that based on conditions, launch altitude, launch speed. There's always a little bit of variation, as well as the time between drops. So as we see, we get less than 10 seconds, you'll see that the JSOW will become ready and allow you to actually launch. When we're looking at this, we're not actually testing the maximum kinematic range. We're testing what the system plans for you to engage with this weapon set. You can go closer to the target if you want. This is when the system allows you to actually pickle the bomb. We have a few different types we're going to look at: the AGM-154 JSOW, the GBU-38 JDAM, the AGM-84E SLAM, and the H-SLAM-ER, the 88C HARM, as well as the Russian KH-58U, the KH-25 MPU. From the Chinese side, we'll be looking at the LS-6500 and the GB-6. The bottom tables indicate the flight time as tested from this maximum range. Now, for some of these systems, the system will provide you a flight time, like in the 18, it will tell you the flight time for the AGM-54. This is a practical demonstration of the time of flight when dropped in the above parameters. So we dropped from 40,000 feet all the way down to 5,000 feet in increments of 5,000. For 20,000 feet and above, we dropped at Mach 0.8. At below, we dropped at 420 knots true airspeed. As for the appendix charts, this is designed to give you an idea of the range extension that you get just in a graphical form. So if you're reading this, right side of the graph represents the target. Moving to the left, you see the launch distance that you get for each system. So 0 to 5,000, you can count on a 12 nautical mile for a JSOW. 5,000 to 10,000, you can assume a 16 nautical mile range with the aforementioned time of flight. Now, it's important to note that these are only for systems where the system actually provides you a launch authorization notice. These are designed for systems that are standoff in nature, that the system is providing you a drop queue. So things like dumb bombs, cluster bombs that you may be dropping with a direct pipper drop point, like the regular Mark 82, we're not going to look at. We are trying to strike a target that we are going to program into the system and launch it off the aircraft and then turn around and go home. So next we'll talk about how to actually use this in the mission editor. First thing we're going to look at is how to get two aircraft with two different weapon types onto the same target at the same time. So this is going to be in a scenario where we're looking to attack Basa al-Assad airfield. We have one F-18 up here to the northwest. He is equipped with JSOWs. He is flying at 35,000 feet and 0.8 Mach. And then down here we have another F-18 that is equipped with JDAMs, and he will also be flying at 0.8 Mach, but at 25,000 feet. This is going to require us to have two different drop points because of the range difference in the systems, but also a time difference because of the time of flight differences. Looking at the chart, we see that for 35,000 feet, the AGM-154 has about a 51 nautical mile range, and the JDAM has about 13 nautical mile range at 25,000 feet. Now, to draw the range to the target, you could middle mouse click and draw out this. This is a fast and easy way to do it. However, once you release it, it goes away. The other option is to set up a trigger zone where you would set the range to 51 nautical miles, but you have to do math and convert that into feet. So what I actually like to do is draw a range ring. And so if you draw this, one, you get to just put it in nautical miles, which makes it very easy. And then you can set it around the center of the target area. So for the JSOW strike, we know that we need to put it about right there. And then for the JDAM strike, we will go back to our drawing. I have a 13 nautical mile ring that we'll put up. And then we will set that waypoint right there. Now this is the waypoint that we are actually going to drop from. So this is what we will be flying to, but we will be designating targets based on when they come live. This is for planning purposes so that you know where to put them, but more importantly, when you need to place them. So for example, if we want to get a time on target of 8 hours, 15 minutes, and 0 seconds, we're going to have to make sure that we drop this at the correct time for the time of flight, which for the JSOW at 35,000 feet is about 6 minutes and 25 seconds. So we're going to set this waypoint. So right now we have it set to 0.8 Mach, which gets us pretty close to the time. It says 8 minutes and 39 seconds after the hour. We're actually going to go in here and set this for the exact time. And then we will do the same for this aircraft down here. So for the JDAM, we have a flight time of approximately 1 minute and 50 seconds. So that's going to give us a time of 13:10 that we need to release to get them into the target area at the same time. So as you can see, we're at an altitude of about 34,000 feet, Mach 0.81. It's going to have some slight variance in the actual flight time of the system, but it's not going to be extremely noticeable at the end state because of multiple variables that also go into play in this. So we're going to go ahead and just speed up time here to make things go a little bit quicker. And we're going to drop one JSOW for 4 different waypoints in TOO mode. Then we're going to swap to the JDAM equipped F-18. And as you can see, even though he's much closer, the ring is much smaller due to the limited flight distance and the therefore decreased time, so we have to get a little bit closer. But same as before, I'm going to be lazy and drop in TOO mode. And then we'll zoom in here and look at the munitions. So you can see, despite the JSOWs being dropped much further away and much longer ago, they are in a comparable distance with the JDAMs from the target area. And so now we're set up over the target area. We can see the JSOWs coming in from the right, the JDAMs coming in from the upper left. And the JDAMs are actually going to impact first, just within a few seconds of the desired time on target, and you see the JSOWs coming in sync with them and exploding as the JDAMs are impacting their targets. So this is overall a very good strike, very good time on target. You're not going to get exact, but if you can get within plus or minus 30 seconds, that's really good. So that's the application of this table for time on target. Another useful case for these timetables is when you are trying to reduce enemy defenses prior to a strike from a different aircraft. So this is a scenario. We've got an SA-2 here at this airfield. The primary target is the hangars themselves, but we need to take out this radar before the strike aircraft can progress. And the reason for that is because the SA-2 has a range out past the 15 nautical mile range of the GBU 38 JDAMs, which we will be using for this strike. So we have an F-18. We already know the drop point. He's here. He's going to have to fly through this distance within the enemy WES to get to that target. So we're going to have to launch a AGM-88 prior to his arrival into that WES in order to conduct the strike properly. So we have waypoint 1 right here. So we've already calculated the drop time for the time of flight of the JDAM at 35,000 feet, and that is going to be 2 minutes and 35 seconds. So we have a 8 12:25 drop time. In order to figure out when we need to drop the harm, we need to figure out when this aircraft is going to be entering the WES. So we're going to go ahead and add another waypoint just prior to this one, and we want to keep it at about Mach 0.8. So going back and finding the WES of the SA2, it's about right there. And we see that he's going to get to that line at around 8:11:25. So to give ourselves a little buffer, we're going to go at 8:80 because we have a 3-minute flight time for the Harm. And at this range, it's at about 61 nautical miles. And so you see right here, I have it set at 8:80. So that gives us a little bit of wiggle room for us to fire the Harm while the strike aircraft is transiting the zone to get to the target area where he can drop the bombs. And he'll be able to cross the WES in order to meet that time on target without having to slow down, without having to wait for additional strikes. Now we're going to take a look at this siege strike from in the cockpit. So you see we're at 61.2 nautical miles, so we are almost within range. We're almost to the range ring that we're going to be engaging from. You can see our buddy, he's flying up ahead of us. We're actually going to shoot over the top of him to engage the SA-2 that is up at the airfield. A couple things to note. So right now we're only at 61.2, so we're not technically in range yet. You can see that the Harm has been set up for a pre-briefed mode with the Harm pullback setting. We have a target set at 126. That's for the fan song radar of the SA-2. We go ahead and unpause. You'll see that the Harm has now come up saying that it is in range at 61 nautical miles. However, on the left MFD, there is no timer. So when you are within 2 minutes and 30 seconds, it will present the timer with the countdown to the target, as well as after you fire the missile, the time it's going to take to get there. But at this maximum range, it's about 3 minutes of flight time, more or less, based on my testing. So this is the actual maximum range that the system will tell you of the missile, but it's not necessarily a timing that you can rely on the system to give you. So we'll go ahead, we'll pull back, we'll launch it. We're going to launch it at 7:57, so about 3 seconds early, but that's not too bad. And so now looking at the F-10 map, we can see the missiles quickly approaching from behind the strike aircraft. It's flying a very highly lofted trajectory though, so there's no chance of it running into the other aircraft. But you'll see it's flying very, very quickly right now, and it's going to pass the strike aircraft, but as it gets closer, as it starts to come downhill, it's actually going to slow back down. So we'll speed this up a little bit as it gets closer to the target. And we will see that as the missile's coming in, just where the strike aircraft is as it impacts on the SA-2. So we've got a strike right there. And we can see the strike aircraft is still a couple of miles behind the engagement zone. That's about where we want that. We don't want any chance of the radar coming on and getting a shot off, because any shot you don't take is a shot you always defeat. Looking at the SAM site, we'll confirm. Yes, indeed, that fan song is destroyed. And the strike aircraft is cleared to enter the WES and conduct the GBU strikes on the airfield. So in this way, we can conduct siege strikes very close to the time that the strike aircraft is going to be entering the target area. This helps not only limit the enemy's awareness and time to react to the strike, which is not as big of a deal because we're talking about AI, but this does have a bigger effect if you're playing against somebody who's controlling active defenses or trying to coordinate defenses around an area. The less time you spend on target, the more successful you're going to be, the less chance you're going to have to get shot down. That's an overview of the Standoff Weapons Guide. I hope that you found it useful. I hope that you find the larger guide useful. Please feel free to leave comments, feedback, suggestions in the comment section. I'd love to add on to this for things that people find useful. I've also included a link in the description to the Eagle Dynamics page where it has my missions and my guides, as well as a link to my coffee page if you feel like throwing a couple of bucks at me. Otherwise, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.